Hoby Talk episode 40. Today we're going to talk about Hoby Chain and the Cosmos network, including their native cryptocurrency Atom. We received many questions on Twitter at our Twitter page, Hoby Global. Just a reminder, you can follow us on social media and make sure to press the like button on this video to give us a like. First, to introduce our CTO of Huobi Group, Marsh, can you go ahead and give a little bit brief background about yourself?
Hi everyone, I'm Mars Cheng, CTO of Huobi Group. I joined Hoby 3 years ago and focusing on exchange building and blockchain security, some extra. That's all.
Great. Thanks for your warm introduction, Mars. And second, we actually have a really Sunny from researcher and core developer at Tendermint and Cosmos. Sunny, welcome to the show, and can you share a little bit about your background?
Hey, yeah, thanks so much for having me on. Really excited to talk to you again, Mars. We chatted a bit about a month ago at ECC in Paris, and so it's nice to see you again. Yeah, and so I have been in the blockchain space for about 4 years now, since 2015. And I've been working, I started mostly on education side of things, like really just teaching people about blockchain and cryptocurrencies. I created an organization called Blockchain at Berkeley, which is a student organization at UC Berkeley where we taught classes and had over 200 students teaching about blockchain and cryptocurrencies. And then after that, I started working on a couple of different projects, and I found my way to Tendermint because I got really interested in proof of stake. And I looked at a lot of the different projects that were building proof of stake, and I saw that like the one that Tendermint was doing just seemed the most interesting and practical to me. And then when I started reading about Tendermint, I learned about the Cosmos project that they were also working on. It was the same team. That's why we put like Tendermint/Cosmos. And so yeah, just learning about the Cosmos project, and I was like, wow, this like aligns so well with my vision for the blockchain ecosystem. So, and I just decided to dive in.
Great introduction. Thanks so much for joining, Sunny, again. So we had many questions from the users online, and we're just going to go ahead and break into them. So first, we're going to talk about Hoby Chain. Actually, Mars, this would be your area. We have a couple of questions. First off, the first question, it says, how do you compare Hoby Chain with other competitors' chain? Mars, can you go into that?
Yeah, yes. Actually, we cannot call them competitors. We are still evaluating what cross chains or public chains technology that Huobi chain will use to build. And with the current performance of the major public chains, it's still too early to build something user friendly with high performance. So when Huobi evaluates what technology we will use to build Huobi chain, we look at different aspects of the technology. Uh, for example, consensus protocols and proof of stake, governance and security, scalability. Most of important is the developer friendliness. Huobi chain will be a trade-off among these aspects. We are happy to see the growth of the improvements of other public chains. As I said, it's not really a competition.
Very good answer. Thanks so much for giving us that. We're going to go ahead and go on to the next one. The next question says, will HT or Hoby token be the native coin of Hoby chain? Or will you launch other coins for Hoby chain? Mars, can you take it away on that one?
Yeah, that's a secret because we don't give a final plan to the Huobi chain. So I want to keep it a secret.
Okay, sounds good enough. All right, good. Going on. What partners do you wish to have for Hoby chain? Can you give us a hint of what the cost will be to run dApps on your chain or decentralized apps? Can you go ahead and answer that one, Mars?
On the public chain side, we would like to have partners from leading public chains like Ethereum, US, and etc. On the cross-chain side, we would like to partner with strong partners like Cosmos to provide a more flexible solution for Huobi chain and to interact to other public chains. So on the AI side, we would like happy to have more developers working on dApps on Huobi chain, and I think DAX is a very interesting field, and Huobi pay close attention to that. With the underlying blockchain infrastructure becomes more and more mature, dApps will play a more important role for the mass adoption.
Great, great. Yeah, so it has a lot of hints on there. So great answers. We're going to go ahead and turn it over to Cosmos and Sunny. Thanks so much for all your insights. And Sunny, we have a lot of questions for you. The first one, we're going to head and deep dive into this. It says, does Cosmos really solve anything?
Yeah, that's a I guess a little bit of a vague question, but yeah, we wouldn't be working on it if it didn't solve anything. Um, I guess this is one of the hard parts is to kind of explain to people what exactly it is that Cosmos solves. And I think the best way that I've come up with to explain it is it is a redesigning of the blockchain ecosystem where we see this in terms of generations of blockchains. And I know that's a very common thing to say, like everyone says generation one, two, three. But we take actually, I want to put a very precise meaning of what these mean. Um, Generation one was like your Bitcoin, Namecoin, Siacoin, early days blockchains where they had their own sovereignty, like different applications were on their own blockchain. Bitcoin was there for payments, Namecoin was there for DNS, Siacoin was there for storage. You had all these different projects on their own blockchains. And this is good because it gave you that sovereignty and ability for the application specific blockchain. Ethereum came along and built generation two, which was, I call it the empire generation, where it said, let's build one chain that has every application on top of it. And this sounds good at first, but when you start, then you start running into the scalability issues and both technical scalability and social scalability from governance side. And what Ethereum does do, two very nice things was it made it very easy for people to build their applications. Like writing in Solidity is way nicer than writing like forking the Bitcoin code base, which is in like spaghetti code, C++. And the other thing it did was it allowed the interoperability of applications on Ethereum. So I could go use my MakerDAO to buy a CryptoKitty on the decentralized exchange on Ethereum. So it had like all the applications that are on Ethereum have this nice interoperability, but only for applications on Ethereum. So Cosmos was kind of saying, how can we take the best of generation one with the best of generation two? So can we get that scalability and governance control sovereignty of generation one while still allowing that developer access and ease of interoperability from generation two? And that's kind of where the Cosmos vision started, where it's like, let's take the best from generation one and the best from generation two and combine them to make a generation three ecosystem design.
Great, great, good answer. Awesome. Let's go ahead and move on to the next one. As we've seen in the past, scaling and adoption into the real world is key. How do you plan to take these challenges into effect?
Yeah, sure. So, I guess let's just start with scaling because I think later on we can get more into some of the adoption stuff in later questions. But for scaling, we kind of focus on a couple of main techniques. So, number one is Tendermint consensus, where it is a BFT consensus protocol. And without going too technical into the details, but it doesn't use the Nakamoto consensus that like Bitcoin and Ethereum and whatnot use. It uses BFT style consensus, which one of the nice properties of it is it allows you to go very fast. It like you can do 1 second block times using BFT consensus without worry about the chain forking and whatnot. And so this is really nice. So having that the Tendermint BFT will allow us to get a lot of scalability. And then the other thing is, so that gives us what we call vertical scalability, where how much can you get one blockchain throughput scalability. Then the horizontal scalability is like, when you hit the peak on what one blockchain can do, then you have multiple blockchains that all, it's like you parallelize it. You use parallelism or concurrency, and then as long as they have ways to communicate with each other, so the combination, and to do this, we have a protocol called IBC. And so the combination of this vertical scalability through Tendermint and horizontal scalability through IBC is how we hope to achieve scalability for the entire ecosystem.
Great. Yeah, that's awesome. Let's go ahead and move on to that IBC area because we have another question regarding IBC. Since you touched on that, it says when inter-blockchain communication protocol or IBC, any approximate date of implementation?
Yeah, so the IBC protocol, we have an MVP of it done and like implementation, but the main issue with it is that our MVP only works with the Cosmos SDK. It assumes that you have two Cosmos SDK chain talking to a Cosmos SDK chain, but that's not what we want. We want IBC to be a general purpose protocol that can work with many different frameworks. So we want it to be able to work with EVM, we want it to work with Substrate, we want it to work with Lotion.js. There's all these different, and a lot of the existing blockchains as well. And so this is why we currently are working on we have a working group that consists of many people, including, it includes us right now, Iris. By the way, I'm at the Iris office right now, so I'd love to thank them for giving me this space. And so, yeah, and so, we're Iris, we have Agoric, Loom Network, Prismatic Labs. They're one of the ETH 2.0 developers. And I'd love, Huobi, I know you. I'd love to have you guys on in this working group as well, and I think we can, get. We have a lot. Yeah, we have a lot of people who are like the protocol level, like the the protocol level in the working group, right? Like us and Agoric, and but like it'll be good to have some more application people on the working group. So because you guys are building your decks and whatnot, that would be a very good to have that kind of feedback into the working group. And yeah, so this working group, we meet once a week, and then we work, and then so designing this abstracted IBC protocol that's general purpose. I don't want to give exact dates yet, but I'm thinking reasonably it would be about at least 4 to 6 months away to get that fully working IBC.
Okay.
So it works with across the platforms.
Great. The next question says, can you explain your vision for the roadmap of Cosmos?
Yeah, sure. So, the vision for the roadmap of Cosmos is number one priority right now is IBC. So, and like I said, that's kind of what we have this whole working group, and that's like our main priority right now. And then there's lots of other stuff that we want to work on too. Is we want to on the proof of stake side, I think we have a very well designed system, but I think and I think the Cosmos proof of stake is probably the most advanced proof of stake of any blockchain but I think there's still more room for improvement. And so, me and Zaki, who's the other lead researcher, we are working on a lot of designs for how to improve the proof of stake protocol. And then, really, the nice thing about Cosmos is that we don't set the roadmap anymore. So now that the blockchain is launched, it's kind of in the hands of the community. So our company is called Tenderman, and so we do a lot of development work. But there's already other teams starting to do development work as well. Some of the validators have started doing development work. Some of the people who are building applications have started contributing back to the ecosystem development protocol development work. And so really, it'll be kind of up to governance to dictate the roadmap.
Great, great. Yeah, that's very clear. So let's go ahead and go on to the next one. This is a long question, so just want to go ahead and I'll say this really slow so that you get an idea of it. But it says,
Yeah.
how many projects have confirmed their intentions to build a zone on Cosmos? What would be the sole benefit of the transfer? I did some research about IBC, but not sure if it's viable or not. If the zone is not built on Cosmos SDK or some established blockchain, can you add some insights on that?
Mhm. Yeah, absolutely, sure. So uh, to quickly answer the second question about the IBC and what if it's not built on the SDK, that's kind of what I said earlier about the whole working group and making sure it works across all the systems. And so if you want to keep up with the progress of that, it is actually all on a GitHub repo, github.com/cosmos slash ICS. So it stands for Interchain Standards. So that's what we're calling them. And so you can follow all of the development work on IBC there. And then, so yeah, so what are some of the projects? Some of the major projects, we're seeing multiple hubs in the ecosystem already. Cosmos Hub and Iris Hub is one. The other big one. Then there's, on the assets, we see like, all sorts of different stable coins. We have a project called eMoney, which is issuing a centralized stable coin for the euro. We have a project called Terra, which is issuing a decentralized stablecoin, and one of the projects I'm actually an advisor for, Kava, they're also doing a decentralized stablecoin. So we have like many stablecoins coming on the system. We have lots of different dApps that are coming on the system. So we have DEXs. I'm sure the one everyone has heard of is the Binance DEX, but Huobi, I'm hoping that you guys will also join into this ecosystem as well. And the more DEXs, the better to give as much variety to people as possible. Um, and then we have different applications. One of the big ones is also called Lino Network. It's kind of like decentralized YouTube or Twitch. And so PewDiePie, who is the biggest YouTuber, he has the most subscribers of any YouTuber. He actually announced that he's going to start doing his live streams on Lino Network. So that's very interesting because, like, out of all the chains in the Cosmos ecosystem so far, I think Lino probably actually has the most users because of PewDiePie actually. So yeah, there's a number of people who are built. A lot. We've seen a lot of adoption of our tools essentially, and that's very exciting for us. And then what are the benefits? Like, why are all these people doing this? And so, one, I think just the Cosmos SDK is just such a nice development platform. So, I actually did work for a little bit at Consensus, and so I did a lot of Ethereum development there. And then obviously I've done a lot of Cosmos SDK development here. And I really, if I'm writing a quick smart contract, I love using Ethereum Solidity. I just did that this morning just for a friend. I quickly wrote them a escrow contract. But when I'm building a large application, like I always will choose the SDK every day. Like it's just such a much more nicer and easier to use development experience. You get to write in Go instead of this like Solidity language. And the nice thing with Go is you have all of the tooling and everything that's around the Go ecosystem. So I think the SDK is one, and then I think the sovereignty, right? That's what I was talking about. Like one of the nice things about having your Generation One blockchains was you had the sovereignty and control. Your community had the control over the blockchain, which is good because you can get more like community incentives, and you can your community's token can be a staking token for the blockchain, and I think that's actually very attractive for a lot of people. And so, me and Mars have had this discussion about, fee tokens versus staking tokens. So I think there's lots of very new kinds of crypto economics you can do when you have your own token rather than when you're building on Ethereum, for example.
Great. Yeah, that's very good. Moving on to the next one. It says Hoby is the biggest crypto exchange. Cosmos seems to have an important strategy, partnering with Iris. I noticed a partnership between you all. Can you explain the synergies between Hoby, Iris, and Cosmos?
Sure. So, maybe I can start by saying between Cosmos and Iris, and then maybe Marius, maybe you can talk about what kind of relationship you see us having maybe in the future with Cosmos and Hoby. So with Iris, what we have is, Iris was one of our very close partners for a long time, almost 2 years now, and so they basically the design of the Cosmos ecosystem is that we want a multi-hub ecosystem. Like the purpose of Cosmos, that's kind of one of the things that makes it very different from a lot of the other interoperability design, like whether it's Polkadot or we really believe that like there shouldn't be one hub. There needs to be multiple hubs that are kind of competing with each other and so. But if we believe in this multi-hub design, but we wanted to make that not just like say it's a multi-hub system. We wanted to make that like a reality. And so there's actually like from the get-go, like day one, we already had a multi-hub ecosystem where Iris actually, fun fact, launched a few days before the Cosmos Hub. And so we have these two different hubs, and they can both adapt in their own ways. So, and Iris is focused. Like their roadmap is a little bit different than the Cosmos Hub, but it's like they're both building on different features and kind of specializing as hubs for like different use cases. And so also the team behind IrisNet, Bianjay, they along with running IrisNet, they also run the Cosmos China community, and so they've been our like main people on the ground here who have been like just doing a lot of good community building for us and just promoting the entire yesterday the Cosmos Hub just went on an upgrade from when we enabled transfers, and so the Bianjay team was here all night just like working with the all the validators in China and like helping them upgrade the validators and stuff. So we're extremely grateful for their support. And then so our overall strategy, China is like very important for our overall strategy. And so I don't know, Mars, maybe you can talk a little bit about like what kind of relationship or you want to see between Hoby and Cosmos.
Yeah, well, as I said, we are evaluating potential candidates of the Huobi public chain solution. So we learned a lot from Cosmos and Aries. We discussed a lot with Cosmos guys like Sunny. Okay, so we want that Huobi kind of think the cross chain will solution like Cosmos will be a trend. That means like ERC20 made it's much easier to issue new tokens on Ethereum in the last year and the year before last year. And we think there will be more and more public chains built based on Cosmos or similar technology. So there is a greater opportunity there. So we have great connections with Cosmos guys, and we want to explore this field together with them. That's it.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and like I really think that like one of the things that blockchains can do that like different than like normal exchange world is that like what I'm really interested in is that I love this interoperability theme, right? Because that's why I like work on Cosmos, and I think there's a lot of even space for interoperability between exchanges. So when we talk about like liquidity and like order books, right? It'll be very cool if you had some type of interoperability between different exchanges where like Hoby might like have a big order book and they are getting all their orders and matching it, but sometimes maybe there's not an order that they can match, and it'll be nice if they can like share the order book with other exchanges, and that would be like this kind of what kind of interoperability and new ideas and innovation can you come up with when you have this like everything on this like DEX and on blockchains is very fascinating and interesting to us. And so we'd love to do more research on this topic and maybe do it a little bit with again Hoby and maybe other exchanges and like talk about this idea and like how to make research to make the entire DEX ecosystem better.
Yeah, that field is very promising. I think that's we can discuss the possibility of that issue.
Good. All right, awesome, guys. The next question is kind of about the competition within the ecosystem. Sunny, can you tell us about how you're better than the competition and how you will beat them?
So I think I don't know what the competition is per se. I think like a lot of the people know projects like Polkadot and whatnot. And so I think the main thing here is what Cosmos does is it takes a very sovereign first approach. And really, like I said, all these tools that we're building, where it's IBC or SDK or Tendermint, these are all free and open source tools. And we encourage, and like we said, the vision of Cosmos is to have a multi-hub ecosystem. And so, as an example, Polkadot, like I don't think it's a competitor at all to Cosmos because Polkadot is just another hub in the Cosmos ecosystem, right? It's one of the many hubs in this multi-hub ecosystem, and so and that's what we really want to just make sure everyone is using this like common IBC and we want people to be using different frameworks as well. Like I said, people want to use Substrate if they can use Substrate. If they want to use the SDK, they can use SDK. We actually even developed a third framework called Lotion, which is in JavaScript, and so I think that all of these different frameworks also are going to need to interoperate because we're never going to get everyone to only use one framework, right? Like some people like Rust and they're going to go use Substrate. Some people like Go, they're going to use SDK. Some people like JavaScript, they're going to use Lotion, right? And it's like we can't force people to use one framework. And so what we need to do is focus on like how do we get these different frameworks to interoperate? How do we get the Polkadot hub to interoperate with the Cosmos hub, with the Iris hub? And so really the goal of Cosmos is it's not really competitive. It's a project where we're just had this vision of how the blockchain ecosystem should work, and we're trying to get to there. And now when it comes to like the different hubs, like Cosmos Hub versus Polkadot Hub versus Iris Hub, this is where like it's up to the community of the different hubs, like so the atom holders are through governance, they're going to figure out how to differentiate themselves from the other hubs. And so, Polkadot is really focused on shared security right now. That is their main feature that they're selling. Cosmos Hub people, they might be interested in focusing on a different feature. For example, maybe they want to focus on putting a DEX protocol or, something into the hub. Or maybe they want to focus on, I actually have a design for shared security that I think is a little bit different than the Polkadot design. And I personally like my design better a little bit just because I think it's a little bit more scalable than the Polkadot design for shared security. And so but I think both models are really good, and so it'll be good to have like different things are trying different ways.
Good.
So I can understand that Cosmos is focusing on the connecting with other blockchains so they can interact with each other. So that's an amazing idea, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so yeah, the next question would be, can you introduce a little bit about Game of Stakes, how to join this game? Who do you guys see as their comparable competitors? Can you talk a little bit about that, Sunny?
Yeah, sure. So those seem like two different questions. And so the first one is about Game of Stakes. And so uh, right off the bat, you can't join Game of Stakes now. It actually ended 2 months ago because what it was it was the final test net that we did before the launch of the Cosmos Hub. And the cool thing was it was an incentivized test net. So the people who did the best uptime and like had the most stake at the end, they actually got real atoms from the Interchain Foundation. And so this was a really fun experiment because it helped us test our software, but it also helped the validators in the community really get their security set up to be like hyper secure. And because of that experience, like the Cosmos Hub validators have basically been like practicing validating for like almost a year now, just like running test nets and this. And so I think that now that was very good, because now they're probably some of the most professional and like experienced validators of any blockchain community.
Great. Makes a lot of sense. Moving on with the next question. Can you tell me how Atom is better than other cryptos? We kind of touched on that a little bit, but I think it was more about the ecosystem. But I think they want to give an example of a comparison between like ETH or Ethereum and BTC or Bitcoin. So if you can give a comparison on how you see it versus these two other competitors.
Yeah, sure. So, I think so Atoms is actually very different than ETH and BTC. So ETH and BTC are trying to do like, money token, right? The purpose of BTC is to become digital gold and money. And ETH is kind of also, it's like sometimes it's trying to be gas token, but sometimes it's trying to be money. It's kind of playing both sides. Um, Atoms is a new type of token type. It's what we're calling a staking token. And the idea here is that the purpose of Atoms is not for money or anything. The purpose of Atoms is in order to stake it on the Cosmos Hub and other chains that do shared security with the Cosmos Hub. And this, when you stake it, then you earn the rewards of this chain in the transaction fees. So people on the Cosmos Hub can pay their transaction fee in all different types of tokens. So right now, not that many, but when the IBC is enabled, they'll be able to pay their transaction fee in Bitcoin or Ether or whatever they want, like money tokens. And then the atoms allow you to earn the transaction fee by staking. And so it's a very different economic model to current system. And I actually wrote an entire paper on this, talking about the economic design of a staking token. And so maybe we could, if they have any show notes or something, maybe we could share those there.
Sure. Yeah, that's a great idea. I think that would be really interesting to share with the community. The next question would be, and we have a couple minutes left, so it says, where do you think Atom will be by the end of the year? Do you foresee any use cases for the token by the end of the year?
Sorry. Yeah, sure. So, I think one of the primary focus of Atoms is to be that staking token on the Cosmos Hub. But then as the Cosmos Hub becomes more useful and adds more use cases, then it will bring more value to the Atom. And so, the step one is to get this IBC done, like I said. But once IBC is done, IBC acts as a platform on which you can start building more stuff on top of it. So one example is like that shared security, where if the Cosmos stakers, right now they're only securing the Cosmos Hub, but in the future, let's say there's more chains that come along and they say, they don't want to have their own staking token, for example, right? They can basically say, hey, Cosmos Hub, can you guys validate our chain for us? And if they do, they'll earn all the transaction fees from that chain as well. And so as more chains want to do this shared security with the Cosmos Hub, the hub staking will become more valuable because you're earning more and more transaction fees. And then there's like, all sorts of, I have a design for how you can pay your transaction fee on a different chain while keeping the money on the hub. So let's say there's a game chain, right? A CryptoKitties or some gaming chain, right? You don't want to move your Bitcoin and stuff onto that chain because you don't know how secure that chain is. So I have a design for how you can keep the money on the Cosmos Hub but pay the transaction fees on the other chains. And so it's like ideas like this that like as the hub comes up with more usability and functionality and like it's kind of like what I like to say is Cosmos is this internet of blockchains in that the hubs are kind of like ISPs or internet service providers, right? And so ISPs, they all do the basic job of like connecting networks, but they also usually offer additional services. So your ISP might do a DNS, or it might do it might do hosting, web hosting, and security. And ISPs will adapt to evolve and do many more use cases. And so I think it'll be similar for Hub. As they do more use cases, then that will bring more value to the Atom holders.
Great response. Thanks so much, Sunny, for that feedback and insight. Thank you guys for joining another episode of Hoby Talk. We really appreciate it, especially Sunny and Mars. We appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining. Audience, definitely pound that like button and give us a thumb up on the video. And obviously, you want to follow us on social media at Hoby Global, Twitter page. And for more information on Hoby Global, or Cosmos and Atom, you can go to hbg.com. Thank you all for watching Hoby Talk, and thank you guys again. Mars and Sunny, you guys feel like you want to give a shout out to the audience and thank them for watching?
Yeah,
thank you guys.
Yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and thank you, Mars, for taking out your time to do this with me. And I hope to see you again in person soon.
Okay, see you maybe in San Francisco.
Yeah, if you come to San Francisco, or I'd love to come to Beijing sometime. And I've